There are moments when you sit in silence, and yet your mind is louder than ever. Thoughts swirl, unfinished dreams whisper from distant corners of your memory, and a quiet ache lingers. The ache of knowing you've waited too long, but you didn't wait because you were lazy. You didn't delay because you didn't care. You delayed because something inside you was looping, repeating, quietly hijacking your ability to move forward. And today, I want to show you what that really means. You see, decades ago, neuroscientist Karl Pribram discovered something that changed everything we thought we knew about the human mind. He revealed that your brain is not simply a mirror reflecting life. It's a generator, a projector, a processor that takes fragments of your experiences and assembles them into the world you see. You are not just seeing life. You are creating it moment by moment based on the hidden patterns your mind has stored, patterns you may not even be aware of. And those patterns, they don't just stay quietly in the background. They loop, they replay, they decide without your permission when you take action and when you freeze. Joe Dispenza calls this the neurochemical addiction to sameness. It's not about comfort, it's about survival. Your body, conditioned by years of repetition, learns to crave the familiar, even when the familiar is self-sabotage. Even when the familiar feels like stuckness, like spiritual procrastination. The body clings to old emotions because they've been rehearsed so many times. They become your unconscious normal. Every time you tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," it's not you speaking. It's this hidden chemistry pulling the strings, anchoring you to a version of yourself you no longer want to be. Think about it this way. Imagine walking through the woods with a broken compass. You think you're moving forward, but each step pulls you further away from your destination. You question yourself. You feel weak. You wonder why, no matter how much you try, you end up in the same place. But it was never about effort. It was never about discipline. It was the compass. A misaligned, faulty guidance system buried within, created by forgotten emotions, outdated beliefs, and silent wounds. You were never meant to feel defeated. You were simply misdirected. And I need you to hear this deeply and truly. Procrastination is not laziness. Procrastination is the survival loop of a brain that's been trained by pain, by repetition, by old stories. You are not weak. You are not unworthy. You are human. Your biology was never taught how to shift. You were told to push harder. You were told to force yourself through. But what you needed was something else. Something quieter. Something far more powerful. What you needed was a gateway, a way to interrupt the loop, gently but consistently. And this gateway doesn't require grand leaps. It doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't need you to change your entire life in one day. It asks for something much simpler. 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes to step outside the loop. 15 minutes to show your brain a new possibility. 15 minutes to create, not react. To anchor into presence, not into history. To choose rather than repeat. That's all it takes to begin. And what you'll discover is that in those 15 minutes, you don't just change your day, you begin to change the entire trajectory of your life. There is a silence inside you that speaks louder than any words. It is not the silence of peace, but the silence of hesitation, a quiet energy that lingers beneath your surface, whispering, "Not now, maybe later, just one more day." It feels invisible, but it's there, and it has weight, it has gravity. It pulls you back when everything in you longs to move forward. You wait for the perfect moment, for a sign, for clarity. But what you are really waiting for is for your frequency to align. And this is where the truth becomes uncomfortable, yet freeing. Waiting to feel ready is not wisdom. It is the echo of an incoherent frequency within you. Karl Pribram understood this with a precision few dared to explore. He spoke of implicit memories, those silent, stored imprints that shape your behavior without ever crossing the threshold of conscious thought. These imprints dictate how you feel when you wake up, how you hesitate before an opportunity, how you withdraw when you should expand. They form loops hidden beneath your awareness, and these loops do not respond to logic. They respond to frequency, to the emotional signals you carry every single day. You may crave change, but if your baseline frequency hums with doubt, hesitation, or unworthiness, your life reflects that back to you, over and over again. And it's subtle. So subtle you barely notice. You tell yourself, I need to think more, but it's not thought holding you back. It's the silent broadcast of your inner energy. You tell yourself, I need to be more prepared, but it's not preparation you lack. It's permission to break free from the familiar emotional rhythm that has kept you stuck. You wait for the external world to change, but in truth, the delay has always lived within the frequency you unconsciously emit. But there is a way to listen deeper, a way to decode the quiet language of your own energy. Every day there are moments, small hesitations, subtle contractions in your body, brief moments of heaviness when a simple action feels impossible. These are not coincidences. These are your emotional signatures, hidden markers revealing where your energy leaks, where your frequency lowers, where procrastination disguises itself as self-protection. And if you can see them, if you can feel them, you can begin gently, patiently to shift them. Not by force, not by fighting yourself, but by meeting your own energy with awareness, with presence, and with a simple invitation to feel differently for just a moment, just long enough to remember that you were never truly stuck, only misaligned. You've been told a story of instant shifts, of overnight awakenings, of dramatic moments where everything changes in a flash. You've been told that one insight, one meditation, one breakthrough will suddenly set you free. And maybe you've been waiting for that moment, waiting for the lightning strike that will erase years of pain, waiting for a surge of clarity that will make you unstoppable. But the truth, the quiet, often inconvenient truth, is that transformation doesn't come dressed as lightning. It arrives like the slow, steady unfolding of dawn, quiet, subtle, consistent. Karl Pribram revealed something powerful, something the world often forgets. He spoke of frequency matching. Your brain doesn't leap from chaos to coherence in a single bound. It rewires slowly, patiently, through repeated exposure to new frequencies, through small but steady alignments. Just as a tuning fork vibrates in resonance with another, your mind learns by rhythm, not by shock. The deepest change happens not in moments of explosive clarity, but in the quiet persistence of showing up for yourself again and again, even when it feels like nothing is happening. And that's why the myth of sudden transformation becomes so dangerous. It seduces you into waiting for something external, something grand, while ignoring the soft power of daily alignment. You may believe that big efforts, intense sessions, grand declarations will finally break the cycle, but the brain doesn't sustain change through force. It sustains through consistency, through small, digestible shifts that gently retrain your nervous system to feel safe in a new reality. 15 minutes, that's the quiet revolution. 15 minutes where you choose to become familiar with peace, with clarity, with possibility. 15 minutes where your mind gently lets go of the frantic rhythm it has known for too long. And slowly, beneath the surface, new patterns form. Micro shifts accumulate, new neural pathways strengthen. What felt impossible begins to feel natural. What felt distant begins to feel within reach. The mind does not leap, it builds. And those quiet, unnoticed moments, they are the true birthplace of transformation. Not the fireworks, but the steady flame. Not the storm, but the silent sunrise. There is a quiet exhaustion that comes from knowing so much, yet feeling so little change. You collect teachings, you gather methods, you stack books by your bedside, but the shift you long for remains distant, just out of reach. And beneath that exhaustion, a subtle frustration grows. You wonder, why do I know exactly what to do, but still feel stuck where I've always been? This is the silent trap of the spiritual to-do list. A hidden place where knowledge becomes a disguise, where information replaces transformation, and the mind feels busy. But the soul remains unchanged. The truth is unsettling but liberating. Knowing more does not create embodiment. Knowing more can actually deepen procrastination if it's not metabolized through action. You begin to live in your mind, repeating theories, reciting principles, while your body remains anchored in old emotions. Karl Pribram understood this perfectly. He spoke of contextual encoding, the principle that your brain rewires not by hearing or reading, but by experiencing. Real change happens in the body, in the nervous system, in the emotional landscape of your being. Until knowledge is anchored in lived experience, it remains external, an idea, a distant possibility that feels frustratingly unreachable. You may have convinced yourself that you need more learning before you can begin. But beneath that belief lies something simpler, a fear of integrating what you already know. And the way out is not through more accumulation, but through deliberate, gentle embodiment. It is through small, living actions that your energy begins to shift. Not grand declarations, but micro-movements that whisper to your brain, "This is who I am becoming." There is power in simplicity, power in starting where you are, with what you already know, and letting it touch your day. Not in theory, but in practice. A few intentional minutes where your body feels a new rhythm, your breath finds a new pace, your heart remembers a forgotten ease. These moments don't just change your day, they shift the very foundation of who you believe yourself to be. And slowly, the weight of the spiritual to-do list dissolves, replaced by something quieter, lighter, more alive. True embodiment. There is a hidden betrayal happening within you, not from the world outside, but from the very chemistry of your body. You reach for comfort, for stimulation, for the little hits of satisfaction that seem harmless, but slowly they pull you further from what your soul truly craves. This is the quiet trap of dopamine, the brain's reward signal, designed to encourage survival, but easily hijacked in a world built on distraction. You open a screen, scroll through meaningless words, listen to another piece of advice without ever integrating the last. And the brain rewards you, tricking you into feeling accomplished, while your deeper transformation remains untouched, waiting in silence. Karl Pribram spoke of holographic expectation fields, the way your brain constructs reality through anticipated rewards. Every time you choose fleeting stimulation, you reinforce a map where comfort is prioritized over alignment. And this is why so many remain stuck, not because they lack wisdom, but because their biology has been quietly trained to chase quick fixes over true coherence. The modern world offers you constant invitations to escape presence, instant pleasure, instead of lasting peace. And the more you consume these shallow rewards, the more distorted your internal compass becomes, until what could set you free feels distant, even burdensome. Perhaps you've felt it, the heaviness of sitting still with yourself, the strange resistance to a simple practice, a brief meditation, a moment of silence. This is not weakness. This is not a flaw in your character. This is the after effect of misplaced dopamine cycles, rewarding you for avoidance, creating an illusion of movement while anchoring you in repetition. But this cycle can be softened, not by deprivation, not by self-punishment, but by offering your brain a new reward, a deeper nourishment, 15 minutes. 15 minutes where you step away from the artificial stimulation and step into something more real, more grounding, more alive. Slowly, the chemistry begins to shift. The nervous system finds new rhythms. The mind discovers new rewards, not in distraction, but in alignment. And in that quiet space, you remember something your body had forgotten. That peace is not passive, it is powerful. That presence is not boring, it is liberating. That freedom was never outside you. It was waiting beneath the noise in the simple choice to reclaim your own energy. There is a rhythm to life that you once knew, before the noise, before the rush, before the demands of the world pulled you away from yourself. You felt it in the quiet spaces, in the still mornings, in the gentle sway of trees, in the timelessness of ocean waves. Nature was always speaking to you, teaching you, guiding you back to your natural state of being, steady, alive, deeply aligned. But somewhere along the way, you forgot how to listen. You began measuring your worth by how fast you moved, how much you accomplished, how many results you could gather in the shortest time. And the price of that forgetting was steep. The loss of your internal frequency, the loss of your quiet coherence. Karl Pribram understood that your brain records rhythm as much as it records information. He described how the mind encodes frequencies and how the most sustainable shifts happen not through force, but through resonance. You are not meant to erupt in sudden transformation. You are meant to grow as the oak tree grows, quietly, invisibly, moment by moment, finding strength in patience, building resilience through steady expansion. There is no rush in the roots beneath the earth, no panic in the unfolding of a leaf, only rhythm, only presence, only an ancient intelligence honoring the timing of life. And this wisdom is not separate from you. It is within you. Your body knows how to return to that rhythm if you allow it to remember. You do not need to conquer your mind. You need to calm it. You do not need to force yourself into change. You need to flow into it with the same gentle persistence as the river carving through stone, slow, patient, unstoppable. 15 minutes. That is all it takes to begin creating that internal coherence again. A brief return to the natural rhythm that your cells recognize, your heart remembers, your spirit craves. A few quiet moments where you anchor yourself not in pressure, but in presence. Not in performance, but in simple alignment. And when you do, something profound begins to unfold. The frantic pace softens, the scattered thoughts slow, the frequency shifts, and the transformation you've been chasing finds you, quietly, steadily, like a forgotten truth reawakening within. Again, a hidden crossroads between the familiar and the new, between the comfort of repetition and the quiet power of renewal. Karl Pribram spoke of this as the nature of the holographic mind. Your brain is not a fixed machine, trapped in its old configurations. It is a living, breathing receiver of frequency. It responds to what you feed it, what you allow, what you rehearse in thought and emotion. And every day, with every moment, you are faced with the same invisible question. Will I repeat? Or will I rewire? This is not about blame. This is about recognition, about realizing that the loops you live are not evidence of failure, but simply reflections of unhealed patterns, unshifted energies. Bruce Lipton taught that your thoughts are more than fleeting impressions. They are biological signals activating or deactivating the deepest codes of your being, like light filtering through stained glass. Your inner dialogue colors your entire reality. Every thought carries weight. Every emotion leaves an imprint. And those quiet moments when you tell yourself just a few more minutes, just one more day, they ripple through your biology, shaping what you see, what you feel, what you experience. But there is a doorway, always, a simple, accessible gateway back to yourself. 15 minutes, not as another task, not as another obligation, but as a sacred agreement, a quiet contract with the version of yourself you are becoming. In those minutes, you choose to stop reinforcing the echoes of your past and start allowing the emergence of your true self. In those minutes, you tell your brain, this is the frequency I choose now. This is the rhythm I reclaim. This is the story I rewrite. And maybe, just maybe, when you look back at your life, you will not remember the grand, fleeting moments. You will remember the quiet decision you made day after day to rise, to realign, to return to your center. You will see that your legacy was never built on noise, but on presence, not on bursts of effort, but on gentle, patient alignment. The world will tell you to move faster, but your soul knows better. Your soul knows it was always the small, faithful choices that rewrote your destiny. So, when the next moment arrives, when the loop returns, and the old hesitation calls your name, there will be a question waiting for you, whispered softly in the background of your mind. Shall we repeat, or shall we rewire? And in those 15 minutes, the answer is yours.